Hey, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going to be speaking about a topic that I feel like a lot of us may struggle with from time to time, and that is the comfort zone, right? But before diving right in, if you are new here, I just wanted to introduce you to the PurposeBox. This is a podcast where we unlock the keys to unlocking your potential, elevating your brand, and leading a life that is aligned with your purpose. And so I'm Chantal, and today we're going to have a real conversation, okay? It may challenge you a little bit, but that's okay because growth is not comfortable. If we're being honest, and comfort won't get you to where God is calling you to go, right? And so before diving right in, I just want to ask you all a question, and that is this. Is your comfort zone keeping you stuck? Really ask yourself this. Because if it is, we're going to talk about how to break free. And I mean, really break free, right? We look at some biblical examples like Jonah, who resisted comfort, versus David, who stepped out into courage and saw a reward. But, friends, don't worry. I'm not here to just call you out, right? I'm here to call you up. And so if you guys are ready to dive right in, as I love to say, get in those comfortable seat in the house and let's go, okay? So let's start right here. The comfort zone is a trap. And I know that sounds hard, but hear me out. It feels safe, doesn't it, right? It feels predictable, it feels secure, but if we're being honest, that's where most dreams go to die. And you know what is funny? Comfort doesn't always mean happiness. You can be miserable and still cling to your comfort zone because at least it's familiar, right? I can evaluate some past relationships or situations where I was in that spot. But maybe, you've been holding on to that job you hate because the thought of stepping out terrified you. Or maybe you've been sitting on that business idea for years because what if it doesn't work out, right? Think about it. Think about the areas in your life where you may be holding on to comfort, right? But here's the thing. You can't grow and stay comfortable at the same time. They're mutually exclusive. Growth demands discomfort. Let me say that again. Growth demands discomfort, right? And so let's talk about Jonah for a second. Yes, the guy who literally tried to run from God's plan. God told Jonah to go to Nineveh and deliver a message that was hard, a message that was uncomfortable, and definitely outside of Jonah's comfort zone. But what did Jonah do? He got on a boat going in the opposite direction. How many of us have done that before? I'm raising my hand. Yeah, because I've done that before. And what happened? A storm came and Jonah ended up in the belly of a fish. Man, right? Here's a lesson that I've learned. When you avoid what God is calling you to do because it feels uncomfortable, you don't escape the storm. You just create a different one, right? Jonah's refusal didn't lead to freedom. It led to chaos, right? And so sometimes it's good to ask ourselves, what are you running from? What is that thing that God has been nudging you to do that you keep avoiding because it feels too big, it feels too hard, and it feels too scared, right? Pause and self-reflect a little bit, right? And so on the flip side, let's talk about David a little bit, which I love. I love that story of David. Let's talk about him a little bit, right? So when David stepped onto the battlefield to face Goliath, do you think he was comfortable? Probably not. Do you think it felt easy to stand there, a young shepherd boy, with a sling and some stones staring down at a giant? Not a chance. But here's the thing about David, friends. He didn't rely on his own strength. He knew that God was with him, and that gave him the courage to step out. And because of that courage, he didn't just defeat a giant. He set himself on the path to becoming a king. Right? So some of our blessings are beyond the other side of that uncomfortable task that God has given us, right? The very thing that feels impossible is often the thing that will propel you into your purpose, right? And so I love those Bible stories, right? But I also have one for myself, right? And so let me just share a little bit of my own story, because trust me, I know all about discomfort. I do uncomfortable things every day. So years ago, I was broke. I was struggling, working a minimum wage job at the time. And then God told me to quit. Yes, you heard that right. He told me to quit. And I remember thinking, wait, what? How does that make sense? I mean, I'm already struggling. You want me to struggle even more? Right? And on top of that, friends, he wanted me to start a business in an area that I had absolutely no experience. When I say none, I mean I had none. And if that is not uncomfortable, friends, I do not know what is. But here's the thing. God didn't care about my discomfort. He cared about my obedience. Y'all, the blessing is in the obedience, you know? And looking back now, I can see why that uncomfortable step of faith was just the beginning of something I couldn't have even imagined at the time, friends. It's why I'm here today, running a business, impacting lives, and sharing this message with you. God's plan for you will always be bigger than what you can see in the moment. But here's a key. You have to trust Him enough to step out. Think about one area where you may need to exercise a little bit more trust and exercise courage. Have the courage, friends, to just step out. All right. So here's a question. How do you break free? Because if we are being real, knowing your comfort zone is keeping you stuck and actually stepping out of it are two different things. You can be aware and remain stuck, or you can be aware and actively take the steps to come out. And so the first thing I would say is to acknowledge the fear, but don't let it lead you. Friends, fear is normal. David probably felt fear. Jonah definitely did. But the key is not letting that fear dictate your actions. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite of it. Right? And so the next thing will be to start small, but start. You know, you don't have to go around slaying giants all day, friends. Maybe your first step is just sending that email, having that conversation, right? Or signing up for that course. But whatever it is, just start, right? 3 is lean on God's strength, not your own. Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's like one of my favorite verses, you know. Friends, you're not in this alone. Trust that God is strengthening you for whatever comes your way, right? And 4, remember your why. Why is God calling you out of the comfort zone? What's the purpose on the other side of the discomfort? Keep that vision in front of you and let it fuel your actions, right? And 5, embrace the process. Friends, growth is messy, it's awkward, and sometimes it's downright painful, right? But it's also beautiful at the same time. Embrace the process, knowing that every step is shaping you into the person that God has called you to be, right? And so here's the bottom line. Staying in your comfort zone might feel safe, but it's robbing you of the life that God has in store for you, right? Jonah learned this the hard way. David showed us what's possible when we trust God and step out. So here's a question, to just self-reflect a little bit. What is it going to be? Are you going to let fear keep you stuck? Or are you going to step out in faith and see what's on the other side, right? I want you to remember this, friend. God didn't create you to live small, no. There's actually a reason why He's calling you out. It's because there is more for you, more purpose, more impact, more growth. But you never see it if you stay where it's comfortable, right? And so, friends, thank you so much for joining me today. And I can't wait to hear how you're stepping out in faith this week, right? Let me know what resonated with you. And as always, I will see you next time on the Purpose Box. Till next time.